Well, do you have fond memories of the 80s when hair was big and the decor was, well, remember sponge painting? We'll have more on faux finishes later, but there are some decor trends from the 80s we want to come back. So let's kick off today's show with a Throwback Thursday segment. We've got designer and DIY expert Leigh-Ann Allaire Perrault here. Hi, material girl. Hi. How you doing? I'm just trying to think of what era you might represent.
I feel like I need some chewing gum. Blow some big bubbles.
A total 80s girl. And you know what? Some people might be surprised to hear that there are decor trends from the 80s that are coming back now that are amazing. Like, they look good.
They're amazing, but just a kind of disclaimer to that. We're doing it different than we used to.
Right.
It's evolved, so I don't want anyone to freak out and think that we're doing a full-on throwback. We're taking cues. And really, that's what design evolution is all about. We constantly are looking back, finding inspiration, but reinventing it in a lot of ways.
Absolutely, and modernizing it a little bit.
Exactly.
Making it a little bit more contemporary. So you took inspiration from what?
Well, specifically from the 80s, but more specifically from a design movement called Memphis Style.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people I don't think are particularly familiar with the specific style and how it started. We do have an image to show kind of a very over-curated 80s-inspired Memphis space. And the whole idea with this, it was actually started from a group out of Italy in 1981. They had their first furniture showing. And their whole movement was really against the modernism that was happening in the 70s, where everything got very stark and a little bit more bland in a certain element of design. And they thought, you know what, we're going to burst out of that mold. And their only rule was to really have no rules.
Yes.
So it was all about geometric, so they took cues, even looking back then, from Art Deco, from pop art in the 50s, mid-century modern. And then, again, they evolved those two styles to create this Memphis look, which, by the way, had nothing to do with Memphis, Tennessee.
No.
The name of the group actually started from the group when they first met. They were listening to a Bob Dylan song that had the name Memphis in the title, and it kept playing on repeat. And they just declared themselves the Memphis group.
I love it.
In that moment. So very, very interesting history and background to the evolution. But what I find very interesting now, so when we're talking about how it's coming to be now, is when you look at those indicators why it was popular then against the modernist, sleek movement, think about where we've been in decor for the last few years.
Right, it's been very
white,
safe.
Very safe, white. So very much this.
Yes.
So I kind of created a vignette of the now. And it's, in my opinion, very beautiful. The neutrals are great. People may even be daring and add a pop color of blue or whatever that choice may be, but sticking to the one hue, like within the box.
Right.
People are a little bit more safe. Then we move over to something like this.
It's like,
hello, the 80s literally calls, and they want their decor back.
Yes.
It is screaming at you, but I don't want anyone to have a heart attack who lived through this and never wants to see it again and thinks, oh my gosh, is this where we're headed? Absolutely not.
Okay.
This is the shock factor to point out one in particular point. Don't do this, because we shouldn't overindulge in a trend ever.
Right.
Because what ends up happening, someone like Karl Lagerfeld, who loved this look in the 1980s, decorated his entire apartment, bought every piece of the collection, and then put it all up for auction a few years later because he was sick of it.
Couldn't do it.
And that's what happens when you overindulge. So there's a way to indulge in a trend without overindulging in the trend.
You take the bits and pieces that are going to work, and you leave the rest behind. This is not, to me, I think you've done an amazing adaptation here of the 80s look.
It's fun.
It's a little screamy, but
which is exactly what Memphis Style was supposed to do. It was supposed to be polarizing, and that's what this is. Not everyone will love this coming back.
Right.
But the people who do, it's like energizing and reinvigorating.
Yes.
And what's funnier, the people who are loving it now are actually the millennials who never lived through it the first time.
See?
They're the ones driving the trends because they go, this is so new and fresh and cool, and the rest of us are going, oh, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Like, we're good, we're good.
There is something nice about having some personality in your space now, and it's nice that we're moving towards that, having a little bit of liberation and freedom at home to use colors and different styles.
So with this, I think my biggest point that I want to drive home is whatever trend you want to hop on that train of, do it in affordable doses. doses. So in the set, I've done specific things and actually done them very affordably. I've got my little like tickle trunk here of DIY materials. I used everything from $1 sheets of vinyl to cut and make the vinyl decals. So these are peel and stick and removable. So you're investing $1, and when you go, I'm really over it, 6 months from now, a year from now, you peel it off and there's no harm to the wall. Or if you want something a little more permanent, instead of the accent wall, you can do the accent angle. So you're not committing to a large amount of color, but because Memphis Style is all about the geometrics, that's an easy solution.
Absolutely.
A couple other DIYs. Actually, I just want to point this out because this was so fun. The dots on the wall, sure, you can cut those, or you can just buy a giant hole punch. I've never seen these before.
That's a hole punch.
So it's a hole punch, a 3-inch hole punch to cut on a decal, to punch all the dots.
That's amazing.
Which was really fun. And then this was also a secret weapon of mine.
Oh, yes.
So the bookcase, using the IKEA Billy bookcase, a classic in itself, but electrical tape. So again, you could peel this off, but it's just trimming out that cartoon aspect on that piece there. I've used vinyl everywhere. Can you actually hand me that vase there?
Yes.
So,
DIY?
Yes, we often talk about if you want to indulge in a color trend, try it in small doses and maybe pick an accessory, spray paint it, like we do that all the time. Now, the thing is, if you spray paint over something and then you go, what was I thinking? Maybe like this was a little bit of an overindulgence and you think I really missed the way it used to be. Well, there's this new product called Peel Coat, and it's a peelable primer that when you're over the finish, you can peel this away and basically have the original finish underneath.
That's a spray?
It's a spray primer.
Oh,
look at this.
Gosh.
Spray primer, so you can paint any paint finish over top, called Peel Coat. You can paint any color finish. I had used a paint pen to do the little decal. But look, I'm practically back all the way to my original vase.
That is so cool. And
Dun,
what a
dun,
statement
dun.
about our lack of permanence these days.
Right? Exactly.
Everything comes off.
There you go. You can put that right
Peel
back on the
everything
shelf.
off the wall, and now you feel good about it again.
Done.
That is incredible.
Simple ways and affordable ways to get the look for less.